The House Families and Veterans Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Schmaltz,
Here.
Representatives Wozniak,
Here.
Fox,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Thompson, Pavlo, Wolford,
Present.
Young,
Here.
Burns,
Here.
Reingens,
Here.
Song.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 9 members present, a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Representative Song moves to adopt the minutes of the May 6th meeting without objection, so ordered. So every now and then, we're going to have a veteran come in just to talk about their experiences and let us know what we can do to help them out. I think that's important to help us understand what our veterans go through. So today, I would like to welcome Army veteran and Livingston County Veteran of the Year, Bobby Brite, to tell us about himself and his experiences. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Okay, so my name is Bobby Brite. I'm from New York initially. My wife is from Michigan, and Michigan girls have a habit of bringing us right back here, which is awesome because this is a great state to live in. So I joined the Army in 1990 in response to Iraq invading Kuwait and the call for volunteers, and I stayed from 1990 to 96. It was uneventful. I served during peacetime. I can tell you that, leaving the military hasn't changed very much, and it is a little bit of a culture shock. And this is my peacetime story, of course. So my wife and I were both in service. We separated. We came back to Michigan, and you find that there's not a lot of resources available. It has changed. Thankfully, you guys have instituted the MVAA. I am a huge supporter of that organization. Doesn't matter, what politics you are. That particular organization, which didn't exist in '96, today helps with the transition of soldiers that are leaving service. You leave and you're responsible for $1 million worth of equipment, and you can't get a minimum wage job. So it's a huge culture shock. Without having that little bit of a buffer, it's difficult, and I think that even peacetime soldiers fall into a little bit of a depression, and they have a hard time coping. Hence, some of this suicide thing that you see. I went back in after September 11th, and I served on active duty till 2005. So I did deploy to Iraq 04-05, and I'm an infantryman, so, we were actually on the ground doing, whatever it is we needed to do. So Rep. Wolford asked me to share a story that was impactful and really, and this wasn't personal for me, but I was at the east gate of LSA Anaconda. It was located in Balad. We were on doing a convoy operation up there, and a V-bit had gone off and killed a bunch of Iraqi soldiers. So I was walking into the gate, a little bit disoriented. My ears were ringing, and trying to get it back together. And I see a young soldier pick up a leg and throw it over the fence. He said, "Let the dogs eat this." Right? This is an American soldier. Another guy about 20 feet in is sitting there eating an MRE with all this carnage going on around us. And I felt nothing at the time. So we lose our humanity. When you come home years later, you recall these events. And again, this one wasn't personal to me, but it's still something that I carry with me. And you recall these events, and I think of that young soldier throwing the leg over the fence. And I think of, years later, and you realized you felt no empathy. You felt nothing for another human being. How do you feel today? Because it impacts your life. So it's not what you are instructed to do, it's what you're not instructed to do that bothers you forever. Never goes away, So I imagine that young soldier today living with that, that just act of inhumanity, that zero empathy for the individuals around us. And I imagine he's suffering. And I feel like we missed the boat on how to treat these issues that in country, no feeling, but as you come home, you begin to re-assimilate back into society. You start to look at the family around you, friends, and you start to empathize with some actions that happened overseas. And I think it can become hard to live with. So, and anyway, I'm going to move on to some happier stuff. But that was just, the one thing I wanted to mention, because I think a lot of people that haven't been there, they might not quite understand why years later people are impacted by something that happened in country, and at the time they weren't bothered. So why you lose your humanity overseas, I don't know. Why you have no empathy, again, I don't know. I don't know how it happens. It just does. You're in that circumstance, and it just doesn't really matter. So I came home in 2005 after serving in Iraq for over a year, and I separated, and I joined society again. So I think that for a lot of individuals, when you just drop right back into the real world, you have a year or longer of being on a heightened sense of awareness. So the assimilation back is difficult, and it almost takes being around your own people. I had a difficult time, and I'm not going to say PTSD or claim anything like that. What I am going to say though is your failure to adjust is viewed just as that. That individual must have PTSD, or there's something wrong with them, and I believe it's just having that acceptance, or finding your own people, basically having that acceptance and working your way back into society. So for me, I found the American Legion. The place is probably one of the best institutions around as far as finding your people and working your way back into normal society. I am a fixture there, obviously. I love the place. I've actually brought my entire family into it, so we do it as a family, and I just can't say enough about the organization and the ability that they have to assist returning soldiers to assimilate. Not all communities have these locations, and this is why you'll hear me on the outside. If you ever listen to me speak about anything, you'll always hear me go back to MBAA and some of the other organizations that are out there, because they are also, I believe, critical tools in ensuring that people make it back home. Physically being here and actually being here is two separate things. I'm physically in the room with you right now. 15 years ago, I would not have been here with you, though. I would have been 100 other places, 100 other things going through my mind, and I could have spoke to you, and you would have thought you had 100% of my attention, but I can assure you, you would not have. Now, after being home and assimilating back into society, when I do speak to you, you do have 100% of my attention. I'm here with you. I see all your faces, and I appreciate the fact that I am here. A lot of the people that we serve with, they don't quite have that. They haven't come back yet, and this affects everybody. For the first time in history, females are on the battlefield with us. They're driving trucks. They're giving it back to the enemy, and I can't really put it in any other way. So this issue is no longer a gender issue. It's not just males, it's all service members. The unique thing about Iraq and Afghanistan was it wasn't just a war for the infantry. So the infantry would go out and do what they needed to do based on cuts that happened in the 90s and going into the early 2000s. There wasn't enough guys on the ground, so it became everybody on the ground. So it's just, to me, any veteran at any time, right, especially those that have served in Iraq or Afghanistan, Syria, they have the potential to not be here with you. So I am not sure what the key ingredient is to bring these individuals home other than time and understanding that they may be in 10 different places. So now I'm going to tell you, one of the gifts I have from Iraq is I get emotional. I used to be able to sit here like a stone cold individual and not have any waver in my voice or anything. So, and again, not PTSD or anything like that, but I think like all of the hate and anger and focus, once it's gone, there's nothing left. So now I'm a crybaby. It's ridiculous. And so I do apologize for that. If you see something leak out, not my fault. I'm completely embarrassed and I can't stand it, but it does happen. I do think that I'm not unique to that, and I do believe that it happens to many of us because of everything that you keep bottled up for that time. When it is finally gone, the only thing left is this. So it's just a little bit odd. Other than that, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me here. If anybody wants to have any questions, I'd love to answer them, but I don't think that I have a whole bunch more to talk about.
I just want to say thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here so much. Thank you for what you've gone through. I'm sorry that you went through some of the things that you did, and I wish we could have gotten to help you sooner. You can cry here anytime you want. We're all human, and that's what happens. And of course, when we, like myself, haven't served in the military, so we don't know what you go through, but we certainly want to do everything we can to help. I'm glad you found the American Legion to help you out. How long before you found them to help you out? How much time went by?
12 years.
Wow.
It was 12 years wandering around.
How could we get to you sooner? How can we help? And I know you talked about veterans helping veterans, which is so important because you know what each other went through and what you're going through. How could we have helped you transition easier and gotten you to the American Legion or some resource to help you? Turn your mic on, please.
Is that it? Okay, so the American Legion is actually quite unique because it's not just veterans, it's actually family members. And believe it or not, family members serve with you. So, and I don't care if you're a grandchild, a child, a parent. It is remarkable how, one individual volunteers or is drafted and everybody serves along with them. So the parent of a veteran, a lot of times that parent is not the same individual. So they're raised by somebody that has some type of issue, and believe it or not, empathy goes so far. So for us, or whether it's a veteran or family member at the American Legion, that assistance is just there. It's unbelievable, and a lot of times it's just somebody that will listen. If you go into some place and someone says, "I told them," they probably started off the wrong way. But just sitting there and listening, and I don't drink. I drink coffee, and I don't drink. And it's not because I'm pious or I'm recovering. I don't drink because I don't like the way it tastes. I'd rather have chocolate milk or something, right? But so it's not about going into a bar and sitting there and drinking, because a lot of these guys don't drink. It's just going someplace where somebody will listen. I'm not talking about war or experiences overseas. It could just be anything, but that ability to listen is huge. So we do a peer group at the American Legion. It's a combat veterans peer group, and very, very little talk is about Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam. Most of it is just talking about whatever is going on, and it's really unbelievable that is probably one of the biggest keys to coming back. So, and
Well, I think it's great, and what we have to do is learn to reach out to you sooner to make sure that we can get you the help and you don't have to go through 12 years of no one listening to you. So we need to work on that. We know that. I think Rep. Wolford has a question for you.
So I know you'll have a difficult time on this, and I read it on the House floor when we honored you as the Veteran of the Year for Livingston County. But you're a recipient of the Bronze Star, correct? Yes. Would you explain, and you don't have to explain it from your perspective, but what is it in very simple terms needs to happen to get that Bronze Star?
So we were on MSR Sword in Tampa. There was a convoy behind us, and we were taking fire. And believe it or not, this was just like an accident, kind of. So I was wandering around. I was not wandering, but I was checking my guys, and all of my guys were kind of laying behind the Humvee. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? And they're like, hey, something bright, somebody's shooting at us. I was like, they are. I looked around, and I could see the flashes from the distance, and so I got on a 240, and I returned fire. And on the overpass, a couple of Mark 19s, a couple of MPs came up with Mark 19s, and they kind of hammered away at that building. And so after it was all over, I got my guys up. I'm like, okay, man. I mean, laying down behind the Humvee, absolutely ridiculous. What's wrong with you guys? And the convoy behind us, an officer approached. It was a colonel, and I was thinking, what the hell did we do? It's like, what can I do for you, sir? And he's like, that was probably the bravest thing I've ever seen in my life. You exposed yourself to the enemy. I was like, I kept my pants on, sir, so what are you talking about? And he, took down my name, and a couple of months later, I received that medal. I'm going to say I didn't do much for it. I happened to be there, and I did my job, but a lot of times it depends on who you do your job in front of, and so it reads something like, Sergeant Brite exposed himself to the enemy, and I can't remember the exact write-up, but it was something along those lines.
So basically, to receive it, you put yourself in a position to potentially be killed in doing something heroic. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming here today, brother. I appreciate you. This is so important for all of us to hear so that people understand, especially when it relates to the Iraqi soldiers. They were actually attached with you. They were a joint task force. And so this wasn't something that when you saw the soldier pick up a human leg and just throw it over, this was just to explain how in wartime scenario, you do things that you wouldn't normally do. There's dead body parts around you and somebody's eating their meal. And then you have to come back, and we put you in a hot gym for about an hour and help them transition in that hour, and then send them back into society to function. And so I'm sorry that we've done an injustice, and I know that everyone on this committee, Democrat, Republican, will do whatever we can as it relates to connecting veterans together quicker and better. I'll just say this. There are two things. Number one, Corey, United States Marine, he was blown up in Afghanistan, lost his left leg, his right leg was totally mangled, spent 3 years in Walter Reed, came back as a 200-pound Marine, 120 pounds, addicted to opiates from the VA, drinking and smoking himself into a place of wanting to commit suicide. And we don't have time for it today, but it's nothing short of a miraculous story. Was able to seed into his life, and now he has 3 children. He's running a boxing class and all of these things. But I asked him, and people like Bobby and the Coreys of the world will not tell us these stories, but I had asked him after building a rapport with him, I said, tell me the most insane, craziest thing that happened or that you saw. And he said, You mean other than my leg gone and, all this? He said, for me, he said, when we heard an IED go off over the hill, he said, we went over to go and see, and it was two Afghanis who were setting this to blow us up. And he said, Jason, the most craziest thing was the guy's head was on backwards on his body, his eyes were open, and his penis was coming out of his anus. Now, I'm not being crude today, but I want everyone on this committee to understand that people like Bobby and the Corys of the world see the unthinkable, and then we dismiss them a lot of times with programs just set up to give people jobs. So we have to do something for them. Bobby, I'm humbled at you being here. I thank you. God bless you. He is a functioning, awesome member of Livingston County, has led hundreds of people to, who knows at this point, thousands on a good track with their families. So thank you, and God bless you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Rep. Bulford. And of course, our goal here is to make sure that we get everybody on the right track and get them the help they need when they get back and pay more attention to what's going on. Let's go to Rep. Reingetz.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today, Mr. Brite. You mentioned not knowing why in combat your brain kind of turns off. It's because our brains are really smart and they're protecting us. Your brain was protecting you, and that happens to our veterans all over the place, and it takes a while for our brains to get back here. So you're right, it's not your fault, and we need to be respectful of people. I was talking to a veteran in my district yesterday. She's a former Apache pilot, and I was pretty flabbergasted when she told me, she was so proud to serve, but when she was serving, she was asked to defend the Constitution and even give her life for it, but she actually never was trained in the Constitution. So I was looking at a couple things with her yesterday in my pocket Constitution that I keep with me, and we were going over the 5th and 14th Amendments, which, as you may know, include due process. And we were talking about our worries about the recent firing of top JAGs. And I just was trying to understand from different veterans' perspectives, like, what is the process that you're trained to go through? Should you be given an order to violate the 5th and 14th Amendments of due process and just detain somebody? Like we're discussing in DC with the suspending the writ of habeas corpus.
So I can actually answer that, though. So we do, try to understand the Constitution because we do take an oath to defend it, So that being said, we're not attorneys either, but if there is a law that, or there is an order that is considered unlawful, I mean, we do have the right to say we're not gonna carry that particular order out, So as a general rule, the United States military is unauthorized to work on U.S. soil, to operate on U.S. soil. So if we were asked to, go house to house and confiscate weapons or something like that, this would be an order that we could certainly refuse.
Okay, let's move on to Rep. Burns.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing some of your experiences and your emotions with us. I think that's really powerful, and I just want to thank you for that and for your service, of course. So when you were, speaking with Chair Schmaltz, I know you referenced that it took you about 12 years, from the time you returned to civilian life to really find a community and a support system. And please forgive my ignorance for this question, but when you said that, it made me realize that I don't know exactly what happens when you're at the point of returning to civilian life. I know we mentioned being in a space for about an hour. Are you given anything? Like, say you're returning to Livingston County. Is there someone you can say, I'm going to be living in this place? Do you get written materials, any type of resource guide to help you kind of acclimate and find that community, or are you, just kind of on your own?
So you're basically back on the street.
Yeah.
And so to me, like the biggest, issue I have is our lack of advertising. I was just talking to this young lady behind me, right? And she was talking about the MBAA. And the MBAA is a great tool, but they don't advertise. So why isn't it on every Tigers game? Why isn't it on every Lions game? Why aren't we seeing, Secretary Love talking about what the MBAA can do? Because it's not just the service organizations. The MBAA is a great tool, and they actually do great things. I think that they might, spend more money on payroll and advertising, though, and they can really get out there we watch TV, we're on the internet, we're on Instagram, and you get bombarded by ads from lawyers and all these other individuals that want you to do the Camp Lejeune Act or all these other things, when the reality is, you know, our state offers some of the best services out there, and nobody knows.
Okay.
You know, so
making
it's
that
it's
available.
just insane to me. And if they would put money or budget towards advertising, and I believe that you would see a lot of these 12-year gaps disappear because somebody would know who they could talk to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Right
that's very-
now-
That's very important. Yeah, we need to work on that. That's a big problem.
You do. Thank you for sharing that. And Chair Schmaltz, if I may, I know you mentioned, you know, the department, which is a wonderful resource, and we have someone here. Are there any other resources, you know, that you feel could use, you know, more advertising or that may be helpful to folks that we could consider and think through how we can help elevate that?
Right, so the VSO is also a company so that would be the American Legion, VFW, Vietnam Vets of America, NCOA. There's a whole bunch of them out there, and they all do great work. Again, you know, they're all kind of just a brick and mortar location, and if you go and knock on the door, they're there to help you. But if you don't go and knock,
Right.
you know, you don't get that help. So you know, so the NBA, I keep talking about it, but they also kind of push people towards, you know, the Legion or towards VSO. So they do a pretty good job of diversifying some of the responsibilities to other organizations. You know, Director Love is phenomenal. The guy is actually, you know, I think he truly cares about veterans, and any resource that can help that veteran, whether it's his organization or an associate organization, he's all for it. And that's the best guy for a job. I don't care who appointed him. I don't care what party's a part of. It doesn't matter, you know. So this guy is willing to, you know, divest, right, individuals that may go to the MVAA if they can get help somewhere else. And that is unbelievably commendable. So he's just not looking for attendance or to check the block. And I'm not, you know, here advocating for him either. I'm just letting you know that from where we stand in the veteran community, you know, so, but any of these organizations, if they can just get the word out, and most of them won't, like I said, they're brick and mortar, they're kind of right there. So I do believe it kind of falls on the state and the responsibility that they have taken up with the Michigan Veteran Affairs Association to maybe, you know, maybe start advertising, you know, put a couple of dollars towards that instead of, you know, whatever else people spend money on. But, you know, I do think that knowledge is everything, and having a number to call that you see, hey, we can help you today, just call us.
That's
Have an
right. You
operator
know,
there to
and
answer.
that's the least we can do. That's the least we can do is make sure we get the word out to you.
Thank
Let's
you
go
so
to,
much.
Rep. Wozniak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Brite, for being here, for your service, your impassioned testimony. I really appreciate that. You're living in one of the fastest-growing counties in Michigan, and so I would assume that their veteran numbers go up along with that population. How do you reach out to the other veterans? Can you almost tell what a veteran is on the street? And when you approach them, are they agreeable to listening to what you have to say, or they just go, I don't want to listen?
So I talk to everybody, and if you give me an opportunity to talk, I will probably wear you out. So it'll be like, oh my God, when's this guy gonna leave? So if I see somebody in a grocery store or wherever else, I will stop and talk to them. And this is contagious. It's not just myself. So I'm gonna grab a story from one of our members. His name is Tom Green. He's a past commander. And Rep. Wolford saw him in Meyer wearing his Vietnam hat. So Rep. Wolford went up to him and asked him how he was doing. And he told him a story. My wife is dying of cancer. I'm kind of lost right now. So being a minister, you know, Representative Wolford stood there and prayed with this man who has repeated the story about 5,000 times. So whenever you meet Tom Green, he's going to tell you about Rep. Wolford and praying with him in Meyer, right? And it's a great story. But the reality is, you know, we do approach each other, and to me, I think that, you know, people that are family members, or even if you're not a veteran, if you see somebody wearing that Vietnam hat, you know, and it's not necessarily going and thanking them for their service, but saying, you know, just, hey, how are you doing today? And thank you for serving, but, you know, how are you? Just, you know, that little add-on, it goes so far, and you know, anyone can do that. It's not, It doesn't have to be vet to vet or family member to vet. It can be any individual, you know. So Tom Green didn't know that Jason was a veteran. He didn't know he was running for office. He didn't know he was a member of the American Legion. He just knows that this gentleman came up to him, thanked him for his service, and asked those, "How are you today?" And sometimes that's all it takes, you know. And then if you're willing to spend, 60 seconds or 120 seconds, 2 minutes listening, then that could be the difference of someone making some veteran making some terrible decision, or feeling like, hey man, somebody actually cares about where I'm at, where my mind is at, or whatever else. So, yeah.
And then you can point out the benefits of joining an organization, bring them forward. But do you get rejections when you're talking to people?
Not typically. So our post in Howell, we had 290 members in 2017. We are now at over 1,300 members.
It's great.
So we typically, people are interested, and they want to participate. They want to come and at a minimum just be around their own people, and this includes family members. So, I left for Iraq. My youngest daughter was 3. I came home, she was 5. I'd go to give her a hug. She was like, who is this guy? So it's tragic when you look at it. So our children also are impacted by this. Yeah. So, and that young girl in July, she leaves for the United States Army.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Rep. Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us and share your story and all your vulnerability. Are there any, in particular, civic organizations or just local groups in Livingston County that were very family supportive, family focused, supportive, in addition to official vet groups?
So I believe that some of the churches are, and I might appear religious. I'm tattooed all over the place, but I'm not particularly, I believe that it's just something, my faith is personal to me. So I'm not a churchgoer, basically. But I know the churches are out there, doing things. And, you have the VFW and some of the other organizations. And I think each individual, veteran and family members of veterans as well, they find their own route if they're looking. So I think that, the issue that we come upon, especially with, veteran suicide and things like that, is people that aren't looking. They're just kind of isolated onto themselves. So we do what we can to try to knock down the walls and get people, to come out into public instead of remaining isolated. But it's a tall task. It's definitely difficult. As far as other organizations, I know I'm kind of wandering here, because I focus so much on the American Legion, I don't necessarily see what goes on outside of there. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a silo. But I do believe that most of your church groups and stuff are out there trying to assist where they can. So I hope that answers your question.
Rep. Wolford will give you the last comment question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate you. So just a couple of quick things. So am I correct in the number that about 30% of our population is made up of veterans and their families? Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Easily.
So that should be important to us when you talk about advertising, connecting people. I know that one of the organizations that might have slipped your mind was Vet Life, doing
Yep.
the thing that they do there, but in connecting veterans together. I guess well, I'm thankful for you. Thank you for being here today.
Yep.
I think you've given a good example of things, and I think that it's important, even if people don't care about the military and military families. They make up 30% of our community, of our state, and we should be throwing real dollars at these even with connecting veterans to their benefits, there's many federal dollars left on the table that could be coming back to the state to help us if we can connect these veterans with their benefits. So Bobby, I appreciate you. God bless you, and thank you for mentioning especially that I didn't tell them who I was, a minister, a veteran, and somebody running for office. I just cared to reach out to them, Tommy Green.
Yep.
And so God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Ropo.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobby Brite, for everything, your service, what you've been through. And please reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help you. We will work on trying to get resources to our veterans early, get some numbers out there so that it's going to be impossible for you not to see where you can go to get help. So thank you again. Yes, well, we'll certainly work on that. Thank you for telling us about that.
Thank you.
Rep. Johnson moves to excuse any absent members, so without objection, so ordered. There being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.